What's up everybody, welcome back. So we have our weapon and character set up in Blender and we are ready to start animating. So open the scene where we left off previously and we are going to go back to the object mode. Make sure we have the skeleton for the character selected and not your weapon, and then we are going to go to the animation tab. So by default it's on the dope sheet. I'm going to change it to the action editor over here, and I'm going to create a new action. I'm going to call this third person rifle pose. Now whenever you create a new action, you want to make sure you click the little shoot button over here. That will assign a fake user, otherwise you have a chance your animation will get deleted when you close down Blender and open it later. So always make sure you assign a fake user, otherwise you're going to lose some of your hard work at some point, and that's going to be really frustrating. So we have created an animation over here. I'm going to select everything by pressing A on my keyboard, press I from insert, and I'm going to insert a keyframe for location and rotation. So we have our first keyframe in place. Now let's go back to the layout. That's a bit easier. It's going to put us back into object mode. So again, I'm going to go back to pose mode so we can animate, and I'm going to start off with the right hand over here. So I'm going to select this red ring around here, that's the hand control, and I'm going to move the hand roughly in the correct position. So if I hold shift and press spacebar, I get this little pop-up menu and I can select whatever tool I want to use. So let's get this hand somewhere in front of us. And let's rotate it a bit. So I'm gonna turn off the bones in front. So if I go to the armature settings in the viewport display, I'm gonna deselect this in front tick over here. So that's gonna make everything look a little bit cleaner. So let's get this in the roughly correct position. So I'm looking at the hand and not the position of the gun. Let's get this somewhere straightened out. Let's move it a little bit further up here and a little bit more inside. Now to correct the movement of the arm, we need to change the ball target over here. So select this ball and you can move it around. We can move it outwards a little bit to get the elbow in the correct place. And now we need to make sure our weapon is somewhat in the correct position. So I'm going to select the weapon socket where it's attached to. So it's the weapon socket right over here, and we can simply animate that as well. So let's rotate it. See. So let's get this lined up a little bit. So something like this should do, I think. So a lot of this stuff just comes down to patience. So you can spend as much time as you want. I'm not going to make this look perfect because it's simply going to take too long. So at some point I'm going to decide it's going to have to do. So let's put this somewhere around here. That should do. So I'm going to press A again and insert a keyframe. So when I accidentally move the slider, I won't lose my work. So I can show you if I move around any of these bones. And if I move my slider, it'll go back to the last keyframe. So make sure you keyframe everything you do, otherwise you're gonna have to redo things. So we got the weapon roughly in place. I'm gonna hide the assault rifle armature because it's in my way. So in the collection over here, press the little I button and it's gone. Now let's work on the fingers. So let's get this little thumb control over here. If I go to the rotation, and for this I like to set it to local, and we can bend the thumb a little bit. Maybe go a little bit this way, bend it a little outwards. Yeah, that kind of looks okay. I can live with that. So let's go to the other finger. So with these red controls, you can bend the entire finger. And if you're not happy about those results, you can also use the little green controls over here to bend the finger separately. So I'm going to do that over here. And let's put it around the trigger somewhere a little bit. Now let's get the red control over here, and I'm going to rotate it a little bit upwards. I'm not sure if that's a really natural movement, but for now this will have to do. So let's go to the other finger. Let's wrap it around the grip. So as you can see, it won't really wrap nicely, so I'm gonna use the green controls to make a little fine adjustment over here. Something like that. And we're gonna do this for all of the fingers, obviously. And the little pinky. Something like this. Now let's make sure they aren't overlapping, so I'm gonna rotate this one a little bit. No, that's a little bit too much. Let's go for something like this. So that'll do fine for now. So again, I'm gonna press A on my keyboard and make sure I keyframe everything so I won't lose any of my work. Yeah, I can live with that, I think. So let's put the hand a little bit more to the center. So go back to global. Something like this should do, I think. Let's move it back a little bit. Let's leave it here for now and work on the left hand. So again, with the little red control, I'm gonna move it roughly in the correct position. So especially the left hand is a little bit tedious in first person sometimes, because the shoulders won't really allow you to make a decent pose. So what you see often is shoulders are just animated out of position, and you can't really use the same animations for first person and third person. But for now we can just try to use the skeleton as intended, and we can probably rotate this little spine a little bit. So we get a little bit of natural movement there. But you can't exaggerate this too much, because at some point the shoulder will be in front of the camera, so you can see the shoulder over here. So you need to figure it out a little bit. It also depends on the weapon, the size of the weapon, where the grip is and stuff like that. So it's just messing around. A lot of animating is just being patient and trying things out and see how it looks and redo it, and time-consuming work. So as you can see, it's overstretching already, so we might want to bring the gun a little bit closer. So I'm going to select both of the hand controls at the same time, and I can just drag it in a little bit. So that's also why I don't really feel the need to parent the left hand to the weapon. You can simply select both of these controls, and if you move or rotate them at the same time, you will see that works just fine. So there's no really a need to add a constraint. It will just make animating a little bit more tedious if you add one, but if you would like, you could add also a constraint to the hand and the weapon. So let's see if we can get this in a somewhat decent looking position. So as I mentioned, this won't be perfect, but if you want to spend more time on it, just go ahead. For the sake of keeping this tutorial a little bit shorter, I'm just gonna do it roughly. Oh, that's the wrong control. So as you can see, especially lining up the left hand can be pretty tedious work if you want to make it look natural, but a lot of the times you won't actually see a lot of the left hand either, so it kind of depends on how the gun looks and how you're looking at the gun and how the character looks, and there's a lot of stuff. So for now, I can live with this. I'm not sure, do I want to do something about the thumb? I don't think so. This is going to have to do for now. So I'm going to bring in the gun a little bit closer. Go to the global settings and just move it back a little bit. I think I can live with this. Let's see. It looks pretty straight. So I'm gonna move the pole target a little bit, get the elbow down. That looks a bit better. So I think we're gonna check out how this looks in Unreal Engine. So again, first of all, make sure you keyframe everything. So press A to select everything, press I on your keyboard, add the location rotation keyframe, and I'm gonna drag this out to say about 10 frames, and I'm gonna add another keyframe. So again, press I on your keyboard, location rotation, and there we have our first animation. Although it's not really moving, technically it is an animation. So I'm gonna save it, and in the next video we're gonna import it into Unreal Engine and make adjustments to it if we need it. So thanks for watching and see you in the next one. Later.